When communication suddenly disappears in a relationship, the first emotion it usually creates is doubt. Silence leaves an empty space where reassurance and understanding should be, and when that space is left unfilled, the mind naturally begins searching for answers. Unfortunately, those answers are rarely positive. Instead of assuming everything is fine, she starts questioning everything that once felt certain. At first, the thoughts may seem small and harmless. She might wonder if you are simply busy, tired, or dealing with something stressful. But as the silence continues, those thoughts slowly begin to grow. The lack of communication makes her feel like something must be wrong, even if she doesn't know what it is. The longer the quiet lasts, the louder the questions become in her mind. She begins replaying past conversations, analyzing every word and every moment. She asks herself if she said something that upset you. She wonders if she crossed a boundary without realizing it. Small interactions that once seemed meaningless suddenly become important clues she studies over and over again. In her mind, she is trying to solve a mystery that only you have the answer to. What makes this situation even more painful is that doubt doesn't just affect how she sees the relationship. It begins to affect how she sees herself. She may start questioning her value, her importance in your life, and whether she truly matters to you. Silence can make someone feel like they are no longer a priority, even when that was never the intention behind it. The truth is that when someone cares deeply about you, your words carry weight. Your attention reassures them that the connection between you is still strong. But when those words disappear, the emotional foundation begins to shake. Doubt slowly replaces certainty, and confusion replaces trust. Silence also removes the opportunity for clarity. Many conflicts in relationships are actually small misunderstandings that could be resolved in minutes through an honest conversation. But when communication stops, those small misunderstandings grow into something much larger. What could have been solved easily now becomes a source of anxiety and emotional distance. That is why silence can be so damaging. It doesn't simply pause communication, it allows doubt to quietly grow in the background. And once doubt takes root in a relationship, rebuilding confidence and security becomes much more difficult than simply speaking up in the first place. Silence in a relationship can often feel like rejection, even when that was never the intention behind it. When someone cares about you deeply, they naturally seek connection, attention, and emotional presence from you. Your words, your responses, and even small conversations reassure them that the bond you share is still alive. But when that communication suddenly disappears, it can leave them feeling pushed away. From her perspective, silence does not simply mean that you are quiet. It can feel like you are choosing distance instead of closeness. She may begin to wonder why you no longer want to talk to her the way you used to. The warmth and openness that once existed in your conversation suddenly feels replaced by a wall she cannot break through. At first, she might try to reach out. She may send a message, ask how you are, or try to start a conversation the way she normally would. But if that effort is met with short answers, delayed responses, or continued silence, the feeling of rejection grows stronger. Over time, she may start to feel like she is the only one trying to keep the connection alive. This emotional experience can be deeply painful because rejection touches one of the most sensitive parts of human connection, the desire to feel valued and accepted. When someone feels rejected, they often begin questioning their place in the relationship. She might start asking herself if you still care about her or if your feelings have changed. What makes silence particularly difficult is that it provides no explanation. If someone openly says they need space or time to think, it can at least create understanding. But when there is only silence, the mind often interprets it as disinterest or emotional withdrawal. Without reassurance, she may feel like she is no longer important in your life. Over time, repeated silence can slowly damage the emotional bond between two people. Feeling rejected again and again can cause someone to protect themselves by pulling back emotionally. They may stop sharing their feelings, stop reaching out, or begin distancing themselves in order to avoid further hurt. The reality is that most people do not expect constant attention or perfect communication. What they truly want is to feel acknowledged and valued. Even a simple message, a small explanation, or a few honest words can make a huge difference. Those small efforts remind her that she still matters and that the connection between you has not been replaced by silence. When communication disappears, the human mind naturally tries to fill the empty space with explanations. Silence leaves unanswered questions, and unanswered questions often lead to overthinking. For someone who cares deeply about the relationship, that quiet space becomes a place where countless thoughts begin to grow. At first, the thoughts may seem simple. She might wonder if you are just busy or distracted, but when the silence continues without any explanation, her mind starts searching for deeper reasons. The absence of clarity makes her feel like there must be something hidden beneath the surface. Overthinking begins when the brain tries to solve a problem without enough information. She starts replaying past conversations again and again, looking for something she might have missed. A small joke, a short message, or even a simple comment from days ago suddenly feels important. She wonders if that moment somehow changed everything. The problem with overthinking is that it rarely produces calm answers. Instead, it often creates worst-case scenarios. Without reassurance from you, her imagination may start creating stories that are far more painful than reality. She may begin to wonder if you are losing interest, if you are upset with her, or if your feelings have changed completely. What makes this situation emotionally exhausting is that overthinking does not stop easily. The more she thinks about it, the more questions appear. Each question leads to another possibility, and each possibility creates more anxiety. It becomes a cycle that is difficult to escape because there is no clear answer to bring peace to her mind. Silence can also make her feel alone with those thoughts. When communication is open, worries can be expressed and resolved quickly. A simple conversation can clear misunderstandings and restore emotional balance. But when there is no communication, she has no way to confirm what is real and what is simply fear. Over time, constant overthinking can drain emotional energy. It can make her feel stressed, insecure, and mentally exhausted. The relationship that once brought comfort may start to feel like a source of confusion instead. This is why communication is so powerful. Even a short and honest explanation can stop the spiral of overthinking almost instantly. A few sincere words can replace hours of unnecessary worry. Silence may seem harmless on the surface, but in reality, it often creates a storm of thoughts that could have been avoided with simple clarity and openness. Every strong relationship is built on one powerful foundation: emotional safety. Emotional safety means that both people feel comfortable expressing their thoughts, feelings, and concerns without fear of being ignored, judged, or pushed away. It creates an environment where honesty feels natural and where both individuals know their emotions matter. But when silence becomes a regular response, that sense of safety can slowly begin to disappear. When someone shares their feelings, they are opening a vulnerable part of themselves. They are trusting that the other person will listen, respond, and care about what they are expressing. If that openness is met with silence instead of understanding, it can feel like their emotions are being dismissed. Over time, this makes it harder for them to speak up again. Imagine trying to talk to someone about something that matters to you only to be met with quietness or emotional distance. At first, you might try again, hoping the other person will eventually respond. But if the silence continues, you begin to question whether it is even safe to express yourself anymore. Instead of feeling heard, you start feeling exposed and alone. For her, emotional safety means knowing that when something is wrong, she can talk to you without being shut out. It means believing that her feelings will be acknowledged, even if you don't fully agree with them. But when silence replaces communication, it sends a different message. It can make her feel like her emotions are too much, too complicated, or simply not worth responding to. Once emotional safety begins to break, people often start protecting themselves. She may stop sharing what is really on her mind because she doesn't want to face more silence. She might hide her worries, her frustrations, or even her excitement because she is unsure how you will respond. What once felt like a safe space for connection slowly becomes a place filled with hesitation. This change doesn't happen overnight. It happens gradually through repeated moments where communication is replaced by quiet distance. And the longer it continues, the harder it becomes to rebuild that lost sense of trust. The truth is that emotional safety does not require perfect conversations. Disagreements, misunderstandings, and difficult topics are normal in any relationship. What matters most is the willingness to stay present and communicate. Even when the conversation is uncomfortable, showing that you are willing to listen and respond helps protect the emotional security that every healthy relationship depends on. One of the most damaging effects of silence in a relationship is the emotional distance it slowly creates. Distance between two people rarely happens all at once. It develops quietly, step by step, often without either person realizing how far apart they have become. What begins as a short period of quiet can gradually turn into a pattern that weakens the connection between two hearts. In the early stages of a relationship, communication usually flows naturally. Conversations feel effortless, and both people are curious about each other's thoughts, feelings, and daily experiences. Sharing small details of life helps build closeness. These moments of communication act like threads, weaving two lives together emotionally, but when silence becomes more common, those threads begin to loosen. The conversations that once happened every day slowly become shorter or less meaningful. Important feelings remain unspoken. Questions go unanswered. Over time, the emotional closeness that once felt strong begins to fade. For her, this distance can feel confusing and painful. She may remember how things used to be, how easily you both talked, laughed, and shared your thoughts. When that connection starts disappearing, it can feel like something valuable is slowly slipping away. She might try to reach out and restore the closeness, but if the silence continues, it can leave her feeling like she is trying alone. What makes emotional distance particularly dangerous is that it often grows quietly in the background. People may still see each other, still send messages, or still spend time together, but the deeper emotional connection begins to weaken. Conversations become more surface level, and the sense of intimacy slowly fades. As the distance grows, misunderstandings also become more likely. Without open communication, it becomes harder to understand each other's feelings and intentions. Small issues that could have been resolved through a simple conversation may turn into larger problems because they were never discussed. Eventually, emotional distance can make two people feel like strangers, even if they once shared a deep bond. The connection that once felt natural now requires effort to rebuild. The truth is that relationships stay strong through consistent communication. Talking, sharing, and being emotionally present keeps the bond alive. Silence, on the other hand, slowly removes the closeness that relationships depend on. And the longer that silence continues, the more difficult it becomes to bring two hearts back to the place where they once felt truly connected. While silence can create confusion, doubt, and emotional distance, the powerful truth is that honest words have the ability to repair much of that damage. Communication is one of the most healing forces in any relationship. When two people are willing to speak openly and listen sincerely, even difficult situations can begin to improve. Many people stay silent because they believe talking will make things worse. They worry that expressing their feelings may start an argument, reveal vulnerability, or expose emotions they are not ready to confront. In the moment, silence can feel like the easier option. But over time, avoiding conversation usually causes more pain than the conversation itself ever would. Honest words bring clarity. When you explain what you are feeling, what you are thinking, or why you needed space, it removes the uncertainty that silence created. Instead of guessing or imagining the worst, she finally hears the truth directly from you. That clarity alone can calm many of the fears that built up during the quiet moments. Communication also reminds her that she still matters. When someone takes the time to explain themselves and speak sincerely, it shows respect and care for the other person's feelings. Even if the conversation is not perfect, the effort to communicate sends a powerful message that the relationship is important enough to protect. What many people discover is that honest conversations often bring people closer instead of pushing them apart. When both individuals share their thoughts and emotions openly, they begin to understand each other on a deeper level. Misunderstandings that once felt overwhelming suddenly become manageable because both sides are finally heard. It is important to remember that healing does not require perfect words. You do not need to have every answer or express everything flawlessly. Sometimes a simple sentence like, "I'm sorry for going quiet," or "I should have talked to you earlier," can open the door to rebuilding trust. Small, sincere efforts can carry more meaning than long periods of silence. Over time, consistent communication helps restore emotional safety and closeness. Each honest conversation becomes another step toward rebuilding the connection that may have been weakened. In the end, silence may create wounds in a relationship, but honest words have the power to heal them. Choosing communication, even when it feels uncomfortable, shows courage and respect for the bond you share. And that choice can turn a fragile moment into an opportunity to strengthen the relationship instead of losing it. In the end, silence in a relationship is rarely as harmless as it seems. What may feel like a simple pause to you can feel like a storm of confusion and pain to someone who deeply cares about you. When communication disappears, doubt begins to grow, feelings of rejection start to form, and the mind fills the quiet space with endless questions. Over time, that silence can slowly weaken the emotional safety and closeness that once made the relationship strong. The truth is that most people are not asking for perfection. They are not expecting flawless communication or constant attention. What they truly want is reassurance that they matter, that their feelings are valued, and that the connection they share with you is still important. Sometimes a few honest words can provide more comfort than you realize. Silence often builds invisible walls between two people. Those walls are not built overnight, but through repeated moments where communication could have happened but didn't. The longer those walls remain, the harder it becomes to reconnect emotionally. What once felt natural and effortless can start to feel distant and uncertain. But the good news is that relationships are incredibly resilient when both people are willing to communicate. Honest conversations have the power to clear misunderstandings, calm fears, and rebuild the emotional bond that silence may have damaged. Even when conversations are uncomfortable, they create understanding, and understanding is what keeps relationships alive. So if there is something left unsaid, say it. If there is confusion, clear it. If someone you care about is waiting for reassurance, give it, because sometimes the words you choose to speak today can save a relationship from the distance that silence quietly creates. In the end, communication is not just about talking, it is about showing someone that their place in your life still matters. And that simple act of speaking up can make all the difference.